You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the Bulls' magic number for making the play-in, now sitting at 1. We're also going to talk about the Bulls' chances to make it out the play-in tournament and how much will it cost to retain Nikola Vucevic this upcoming offseason. We're going to get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. That's Pat, the designer, host, and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. And Pat, hey, man, after coming off the Bulls win, still an exciting time right now. The Bulls tonight will face off against, who do we face tonight?
The Atlanta Hawks.
The Atlanta Hawks, yeah. Big, important game tonight for the play-in seeding. And with that being said, the Bulls' magic number for making and securing that play-in spot sits right now at 1, meaning all the Bulls have to do is win one more game out of these last 4 games to secure that play-in spot. How you feeling about the Bulls' chances, Pat?
I think they'll secure it. We've talked about for a little while that the Bulls will probably end up making the play-in tournament. I think that they've got a couple of tough games in there still, right? Like you got a back-to-back right after the Atlanta game tonight. You got to go to Milwaukee, I believe. We're going to Milwaukee. And then, like you finish out Dallas. Who knows what that is, right?
I don't know if you saw it.
In my mind, tough game, but not really.
I don't know if you saw it. Shams literally just reported that they may be shutting down Kyrie and Luka for the rest of the season. So
yeah, I think they feel like their chances of making the play-in are pretty much done, which is wild to say for a team that made the Western Conference Finals last year.
And they have the 4th easiest schedule remaining in the NBA, whereas the OKC Thunder that are above them have the 18th hardest schedule. So I'm surprised to hear that, but hey, you got to do what you got to do.
They're a weird team. I don't know how to explain Dallas. Poorly coached. I'd rather be the Bulls. There's not many teams that I say that about, but I would rather be the Bulls in this situation. But and then you finish off with the Pistons, which should be a win. The Bulls should be able to find one more win in there. Realistically, the Bulls should be able to find a couple of wins, right? Yeah. I think the biggest thing is focusing on tonight. You get a win tonight, it makes you feel a lot better because Bulls would move then into 9th, I believe, or 8th possibly.
Yeah, tonight's game would not only secure a playing spot, but it would also secure them. Right now, we technically have the tiebreaker, but we have one more game left to play. If they win over Atlanta and the game overall tonight, we get that play-in spot for sure, and we leapfrog them in the standings and own the tiebreaker. It's an important night for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, very important. So you'd have an opportunity to move into 8th here, which would mean you'd only have to win one game. And we both have said that we feel pretty good about kind of where the Bulls are standing-wise in the play-in, especially if they only got to go in and win one game. So I think that, listen, all the chips are here, man. You got to get the job done. You got to make something happen. Tonight's the night where you need that one win. It's the most important win you can get out of all of the one wins that you can get. Go out there and get it done tonight.
For sure. Yeah, just get it done, take care of business. Now, with that said, we've both been pretty confident the Bulls are going to lock in a play-in spot. But with that said, how realistic do you think the Bulls' chances are of getting to the 8th seed?
I mean, I think that's tonight, right? Like, I think that's what tonight is. I think they have a good shot at beating the Atlanta Hawks. There's a lot of things that the Hawks have done well, but the one thing that the Hawks have really been able to do that the Bulls weren't able to take advantage of initially, that I think they will be able to take advantage of now, is the Hawks just bullied the Bulls.
Yeah.
Right. They were one of those teams that we talked about, the Hawks, the Pacers, teams that came out and you were like, you can beat this team. But then, like, all of a sudden, right, AJ Griffin, AJ Griffin comes out. He's pushing around P. Will. Like, how do you even push around P. Will? Like, he's a tree in the ground. He's moving him out of the way. Right. Like, they just out physicaled you, bumping on Zach LaVine. Pause. Jesus. Oh, wow. Hey,
You've had a questionable couple of days there, brother.
Hey, that's well. Last time wasn't a pause though. You know what I mean? It was just a wild statement, but not a pause. We'll let you slide on that pause. Shout out to Cam and Mace. But I just feel like this is a game now where this is a different Bulls team you're facing. It's not the same Bulls team that Atlanta faced the last time they came out. It's a Bulls team that is more willing to fight, is more willing to get down there and get dirty with you, right? Get on the ground, get after it. At least in the second half of games. Anyway, it seems like, you know what I mean? So I think coming off this Memphis game, the Bulls will have a lot of momentum going their way. They'll have a lot of heart coming into this game, hopefully, right? Everything I could say could go out the window if the first quarter we get our heads kicked in. But I think this is your best shot at getting that 8th seed. And if you get it, right, like, then it's a matter of holding on to it. How realistic is it that they hold on to it is probably
that was more the question I was asking, but you know.
I mean, you said how realistic is they get it, but I mean,
getting it don't matter if you don't finish the season with it. But I understand what you said. I understand how you took that.
Holding on to it. I mean, listen, the one team that you fear the most is what? Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, I guess on the Bulls' remaining schedule, Milwaukee would be the team that you fear the most. We already talked about Dallas. We don't even know what that team's going to look like, and then Detroit to end the season. And while Detroit is a team that definitely can make the game interesting against us, you would hope that with the momentum that the Bulls would be playing with at that point in time, that they go ahead and take care of business against Detroit. So, I mean, realistically, if the Bulls can finish get 3 out of these last 4 games, we could be looking at a team at that point that is the 8th seed, which would be crazy. And at that point, too, that'll be a 50% season, bro, a 500 season.
Hey, I want all 4 of them. Give me all 4 of them. Let's finish above 500 here. Show me some pride. Show me some heart. Yeah, I mean, give me a little bit above 500. That's all I'm asking.
I tell you what, if the Bulls beat Atlanta and after that Memphis game and then go on to beat Atlanta and Milwaukee on a back-to-back night, bro, like that it's going to be completely title number 7. Bulls fans are going to be talking about title number 7 at that point in time.
That's the crazy part about it, right? We kind of talked about Bill Simmons talking about the Bulls being one of the top playing teams that you actually fear. Like the talent on this team shouldn't be a playing team level. The problem is that we are and that we're here. But I really look at this, the end of this season as this is your opportunity to send a message. Mm-hmm. We want y'all to sleep on us. We want y'all to not be 100% confident in us. Now, the biggest problem is, right, like we said with LA, with Philly, all of those, right? Like, can you win once and then win again? Yeah. That's the one thing that the Bulls haven't seemed to be able to do. They haven't been able to just be like, no, we're a better team than you. We're going to come out and not only win in this game, we're going to win in the next game and really be able to put you away. And that was their problem in the playoffs last year.
It's a fact. This is a fact. So, we'll see. Hey, the Bulls right now, we're excited again. And as we know with the Bulls, it can all come crashing down or they can excel and keep it pushing. I really like the resolve of this team. And I keep going back to that game. And just how the Bulls play with that resolve, they play with that level of confidence. It's really, once they get going and get on runs and things like that, this is one of the most dangerous teams in this play-in area, maybe in the Eastern Conference overall. They just haven't done it consistently. So I really hope that the Bulls finish the season strong. They ride that momentum into the play-in tournament, and then at that point, we can take a look at what we do. And I tell you what, there could be a lot worse postseasons to have than to talk about a team going through a play-in tournament that then it could maybe make that out and then go into a first-round playoff series, and we'll see where the chips fall. I mean, listen, the one thing the play-in tournament has done is it has made the back end of the season more exciting. Because think about it. If it wasn't for the play-in tournament, we'd be talking about a Bulls team that albeit isn't going to make the playoffs. Like, it's giving us something. It's crazy.
I hate it so much because it's just like we have hope for the 10th seed, but like literally 3 years ago we'd be like, the season's over, like it's done.
Yeah, it's done.
Let me ask you this before we go into the final topic or to our next topic. Realistically, right? They make the play-in. Say they win in the play-in. Mm-hmm. They compete in the playoffs. How far off are the Chicago Bulls? Because when you look at the record, based on the teams that are above us and some of them that are below us, right? Toronto, 39-39. Atlanta, 39-39. Miami, 41-37. You look at the Western Conference, it ain't that much different. The Clippers, 41-38. Mm-hmm. Golden State, 41-38. Lakers, 40. Like, the teams that we talk about is like, hey, these guys could be a threat in the playoffs are not that far ahead of you.
What record-wise, and that's why I think that this season being the season of parity, there are going to be a lot of teams that convince themselves that they are a lot closer than what they are just because of the record being close. Yeah, we're technically not that far off as far as record, but if you look at talent, there's a huge valley between us, the Milwaukee Bucks, Boston Celtics, Philadelphia 76ers, and maybe even the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Bulls still have tons of work they need to do in this offseason.
For sure, tons of work, right? Yeah. But that's to get to the top of the Eastern Conference. I'm talking about just getting right, like even starting this season. I believe we both said this Bulls team finishes 6th.
Oh,
or 5th,
that
something like that, right? Like, and so how far off are they from the team that we thought we had? Like, realistically, the Knicks aren't that much better than us.
Oh, that's what you see. You see it stopped at the Cleveland Cavaliers because
that's the question, right? Like, it's the part where I know how people want things to go, where we go from 10th to first place. It's not realistic. We have to go from 10th to maybe 5th again, right? Let's get back to 5th place and see where we go.
I mean,
how far are we from that?
A solid bench and maybe a progression of a young player away and having a point guard for a full season.
That's a lot.
Hey,
so we're a long way away.
We're a long way away. But all right, we're going to talk about the Bulls' realistic chances of making it out that play-in tournament. Before we do that, I got to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is Game Time. Now, one of the best events that you guys can go to is any event in the United States, specifically a Chicago Bulls game, which me and Pat were able to go to. It's amazing. And so what Game Time does, it makes buying tickets for your favorite event less stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hype for the fun that you'll have. Flash deals and last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Game Time is the place for the last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It didn't come in aggressive this time. Like, yeah, you know,
a little too light on that one.
I know. Like the intro music really do its own thing, bro. Like people would think that I have some level of control over it, man. Listen, I just push buttons, bro. That's all I do. But next up, so we talked about the Bulls' chances of getting to the 8th seed. We even talked a little bit about what them being higher than that next season. But let's live in the moment of this season for a second. You're looking in that play-in area, which has the Miami Heat, Atlanta Hawks, Toronto Raptors, Chicago Bulls. All but assuredly, that's going to be the teams that are in the play-in tournament. Maybe Boston falls down there, but they are on a 3-game winning streak, so I don't know about that. But what do you think the Bulls' realistic chances are of making it out that play-in tournament?
Did you say maybe Boston falls down there?
Did I say Boston? I meant Brooklyn. Wrong B team.
I definitely was like, whoa.
Brooklyn, sorry.
Hey, I was trying to figure out what math that was. I was like, with 3 games left, it's over. 2 to 8.
You should have just been like, Haize, I don't know if you mathing quite right on that one, brother. Brooklyn, I'm sorry. Brooklyn, not Boston.
I mean, realistically, the Bulls should be the best team in that tournament.
You got the Bulls being the best team in the play-in tournament.
They should be right now.
Okay.
I mean, like, to me, Toronto, here's the thing. Best team versus teams that can play you really tough, right? Like, the Bulls, to me, are the best, come in with the best talent out of most of those. That don't mean you got the best coach, right? Okay. Like I think we'd give that to Spo. We'd probably give that to I give that to Nick Nurse.
You giving Nick Nurse over BD?
I give Nick Nurse over Billy Donovan. But I think the Bulls come in with the best talent out of any of the teams in there. Now the problem is one of those teams plays you ridiculously tough. If you got to go up against the Toronto Raptors, that's a lot of length on that team. Billy Donovan likes to start shooting guards at power forward.
Yeah, and Toronto Raptors are best when they're playing teams that operate primarily inside the three-point arc, which the Bulls are. So, yeah, that's definitely could cause a problem for the Bulls there.
Yeah, for sure. But I look at the Atlanta Hawks, I look at the Miami Heat, and I just feel like, right, like if the Bulls can play defense at the level that they have been playing at least in second halves, then I think that they can outscore a lot of these teams by turning their defense into offense. You got to do that on a consistent basis. You have to do that in that specific game. But if I'm sitting there one team, one player, whatever it is, And I'm looking at Toronto, Atlanta, Miami. Outside of maybe Jimmy Butler, I would take the Bulls roster going up against any of those teams and feel pretty good about it. I mean, Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, it just hasn't worked.
Mm-hmm.
Trae scores a lot. They're incredibly tiny in the backcourt out here. Like it just hasn't worked. I think the Bulls could take advantage of that. Miami just has no answers without. And is Jimmy back healthy yet? I think Jimmy is back healthy.
Let's see.
But I mean, like,
yep.
Miami just they just have. He is back. I hate that picture. He is like Miami just has no answers offensively. It seems like at times outside of Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy's going to have to do his best to slow down either DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine, which means he's going to be more focused on the defense, which is advantage Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, I specifically look at the game that we saw against Miami, and that's a game where when the Bulls were rocking and rolling, I feel confident about how we match up against Miami. I feel confident how we match up against the Hawks. Now the Hawks would be a fun one playoff game, play-in game. That's going to be a fun game.
We're closer to the Hawks than anybody.
Yeah, the Raptors are probably the team that scare me the most. I've thought for a while they're the Miami Heat, but then I had to think back to like how they've been playing the season, the way that they play, how it's really Jimmy and Bam. It really just boils down to Jimmy and Bam. And of course, their shooters, Strus or Hero getting hot. But other than that, it really comes down to those two players. So I feel pretty confident. And it's weird because just 3 weeks ago, I wasn't even confident of the Bulls' chances to make the play-in tournament. And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know what? I would probably put it at probably a 45-55% split. Is where I will put it at right now.
I'm not mad at that. I think the hard part is right. Like even with the Toronto team, you're trying to mentally tell yourself Billy Donovan's not going to play a small forward or a shooting guard at the center position, and you're also trying to tell yourself that you're going to allow. Like the hard part is right in that situation, you basically have to allow Fred VanVleet to be their leading scorer, because if you allow him to facilitate, he's going to pick you apart.
Yeah.
I think didn't he just break the Raptors single game assist record?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to the Drake records. I don't. I don't know.
That was a pretty big record, dog. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, he did. He just broke 20 points, 20 assists. Franchise high, career high for a single game. That's crazy.
Shout out to Fred VanVleet on that.
A 2020 game with assists.
Hometown kid, so we got to show him some love.
I think that that's the only thing that scares me, right? Like, how do the Bulls attack the Raptors? But I've watched the Bulls beat the Raptors more times than not when the Bulls were a bad team and even the Raptors were good. Like the Bulls being bad beat like the DeMar DeRozan Raptors.
Yeah. I mean, even when you look at our first game against the Raptors this season, right? Billy Donovan came out with a game plan that was let's attack their length or it was the second game against the Raptors, I'm sorry. Let's attack their length early. Let's not allow them to set up because once they set into that defense, it's hard for us to move around. So it's really going to come down to now, I do think the Jakopoto of it all makes it a little bit more difficult for the Bulls because Jakopoto in 8 games against the Bulls is averaging like 18 points per game, 11 rebounds, and like 80% shooting, which is ridiculous. Yeah. But if the Bulls can rebound, if they can force turnovers and get out in transition before the Raptors can set up, we can punch with them too. It's just it sounds easier than what it is against a team with that type of length.
I think what also makes it hard is where's it at? Playing in Toronto. Yeah, is a big difference than playing in Chicago.
That's a great point there.
So and we don't have the advantage on the tiebreaker there, and I don't believe there's any way that we could get it. So with us still sitting a game behind, right? Like you're hoping for the Hawks basically to fall into that spot because if you're playing in Toronto right now, the Bulls are sitting at the 10th seed. They're playing away in whatever game they're playing. If you're playing in Toronto, you're playing in Atlanta, you're playing in Miami, it makes a big difference. You're trying to hope to get at least up to 9 so that you get one home game.
There you go. Hey, that's a great point there. I hadn't thought about that. We'll see what the Bulls can do, man. I think we're both pretty favorable on their chances. It just comes down to them executing and doing it, man. But hey.
Watch us get clapped by 50.
In the first playing game, bro.
In the first playing game, just get clapped.
I'm literally just gonna send you a text of, well, it was a good season.
I'm a respond. It wasn't. No, it wasn't. I don't know. Why do you think it was a good season? It wasn't.
Fair enough.
Oh man, we're gonna need some help after this, man. Which is a good thing that we got BetterHelp as a sponsor on this one. And this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Listen, if you're somebody who needs help, just wants to talk with somebody, right? Has something going on in their life that they need to get off their chest. That's where BetterHelp absolutely comes in. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're somebody who's benefited from therapy, then you know the effects that it can have. If you're thinking of starting therapy, maybe try talking to somebody about it, man. And I'm telling you right now, here on this show, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule, which was perfect for me, man. When I signed up for it, you fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with licensed therapists, and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. That was the thing, right? Got my first therapist, thought it was cool, it would do a little, one-on-one. Just wasn't vibing though. And then at the end of it all, I wanted to switch. And you want to not be that guy that's like, all right, I'm gonna just get up out of here, right? But it is a no hard feelings type of thing, right? I mean, it really is. With no additional charge, you can find somebody that does fit with you, does fit your personality a little bit better. You can discover your potential with BetterHelp. All you have to do is visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
All right. So one of the biggest question marks coming in, because I do think it's going to change a lot of how the Bulls attack the free agency period, or whatever they do, is Nikola Vucevic. And me and you kind of had this conversation at the start of the season. I feel like it's a good time to have it now towards the end of the season. We'll probably have it again once free agency does open up, depending on how he finishes the season. But how much do you think it's going to cost to retain Nikola Vucevic?
I think that it's probably around what we said, where Vooch kind of wants the same money that he's getting, maybe a little bit more, because he's not signed yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if the Bulls were coming in at a much lower number and Vooch was like, yeah, I'm aging, I'm not doing it, like he'd have been signed already. But I think you're probably still going to be around 18 to 20 million to get Vooch re-signed in this mug, because Vooch knows his value. I'll say this. We all know this. Everybody in this live has seen this. We just don't use him sometimes. He's still, what is Vooch right now? 18 and 11?
Something like that.
He's still an 18 and 11 player, and literally some games we just don't use him. And
in
the
whole
games
halves. To the point where he does not get touches. It's not like he's just missing shots. He will not get offensive touches in whole halves of games. I'm sorry, I stepped on your point. Go ahead, brother.
No, 100%. But he's 17 and 11. He's the third scorer on your team. He's still getting you the rebounds that you want to see out of Nikola Vucevic, right? He's playing well. And he's going to probably be able to get 18 to 20 million from another team if he goes to them, especially if it's a team that is a younger team that maybe is on the come up. Maybe it's going to be a vet down in OKC or something like that. I mean, the Knicks are always looking to pay big guys just an absorbent amount of money just to have 18 of them on the team. But one of those teams in there, right? Maybe it's Toronto. Maybe they can't keep Jakob Poeltl and he goes up to Toronto. I guarantee you he'll be able to get that level of money, because I think everyone can see that as the third best scorer on the team, he's still basically a 20 and 10 player.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the thing that I worry about, and let me know how you feel about this, is that a team like, we just talked about Dallas. I'm just going to throw Dallas out there. They're going to lose Kyrie. Highly doubt Kyrie comes back there. They have some money now because Kyrie left. They traded away a lot of their young talent. Who's to say that so they can put something on the floor, they don't say, hey, we're going to go ahead and throw $19 million at Nikola Vucevic?
Are you in a position where you can't match? That's the question that I'll ask. Are you in a position right now, especially with the CBA changing a little bit, allowing you to be able to pay your veterans a little bit more money?
Mm-hmm.
Are you in a position now where you can't match something like that, where you're going to make this drastic change? I think it also comes down to what they do with Lonzo's contract.
Yeah. Because
right, if you get that money back, you feel a little bit better about signing Vooch for the 19.
Yeah. And the thing that I've said before, I always try to be realistic in how I look at the salary cap situation. We know they're not going to spend into the luxury tax. And because the Bulls have to add some size, hopefully add some shooting to this roster, and we're right now expected to be over the luxury tax. I mean, over the salary cap, but below the luxury tax.
Yeah.
The prospect of spending basically all your spending power on just bringing back Vooch and maybe at that point Kobe White or something like that, like, it just makes it less and less likely, unless, like you said, you do the career-ending injury exception for Lonzo, you traded DeMar away, you traded Alex Caruso away, something like that. But I think, to me, and this, I know there are going to be people who fight and argue with me on this one, I think that at this point in time, where the Bulls are right now, that it would hurt the team worse to lose Nikola Vucevic than to have to trade away DeMar DeRozan.
I don't disagree with you for one reason mostly. He's the only player that you look at and you say, I know Vooch is going to be there.
Yeah.
Vooch has been extremely healthy over his career. Very rarely. I don't think Vooch has missed any time with the Chicago Bulls. If I'm not, maybe a couple of games here and there, but it hasn't been.
He's missed no games this season.
He's missed no games this season.
He missed 9 games last season.
I don't even remember that. Did we sit him?
I remember he did miss. Remember he was the first one that had COVID.
Oh,
so he did miss COVID.
He did have COVID, yes.
And so I don't think all of those 9 games. I think he did have he had something going on at one point. But yeah, I mean, basically he missed games because of COVID and none this season. That's it.
Here's what I'll say. Do you feel like you're taking a step back in the offseason if you don't re-sign him? If you do, you have to keep him. The whole goal in this situation is to not step backwards.
Right.
Me. Like you have a team right now where, like, I think you have some pieces that you can say you can move forward with, but like what you're looking at in the center market right now, I mean, Christian Wood, that's backwards. Brook Lopez is going to get re-signed. Dwight Powell backwards. Jakob Poeltl might be an even step. I would love it.
Not as good offensively, but better defensively.
That might be a step forward even because 27, if you can get him.
That's true as well, yeah.
Jackson Haize is a restricted free agent. I don't know if the Pelicans are going to match for him, but I also think that's a step backwards. Alex Len.
That's definitely a step backwards.
I mean, now you're getting to our guys, right? We got Andre Drummond on the list. I hope to keep him. I mean, you're literally looking at like Bismack Biyombo. That's you inhale. You went to hell. You went to hell. Like,
we've been saying God ain't listening. He definitely ain't listening. That's the case.
So I mean, if we're being 100% honest, right? Like, there's not a lot of names out there that I look at and I love off of the top. There are bodies out there, right? Like, I think Thomas Bryant is a player that could be a good body, right, on a team. You get him for a lower discounted price. Or Naz Reid, right? He could be a good body out there. Maybe he's somebody you go get. He's 23. But I don't look at any of these guys and be like, yeah, that's a perfect replacement for what you're trying to do right now offensively.
Yeah, I mean,
at
really,
least on the offensive side.
I mean, yeah, the only player out of what you listed I look at as being a potential upgrade over Vooch is Jakob Poeltl, just because the age, better defensively, isn't going to be a stretch a threat to stretch the floor nearly as much. But that's really it, bro. Like, if it's not Vooch, it's going, unless you're trading for somebody, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. I mean, like, unless you take a long shot, and even that's really like a question mark, right? Like,
yeah. What if that's the master plan all along? Marko Simonovic is our starting center opening day next.
Ew. Billy would absolutely start Javante.
No, absolutely.
Billy would absolutely be like, that's all I got left. Javante Green.
Oh no, Derrick Jones Jr. would be the starting center at that point.
DJJ only comes in second halves.
Okay.
Do you take a flyer on maybe somebody that you think you've seen more from that isn't there, right? Like Yurtseven's restricted, Luke Garza is restricted, right? Throw some money their way. I don't know.
I think if anybody, it's Jackson Haize. You mentioned it. I think if you're taking a flyer, any restricted free agent is going to be Jackson Haize at that point.
And I don't feel good about any of them.
Yeah.
It's not that they're bad. I don't feel bad about them either, but it doesn't feel like you're at least keeping things where they are. It feels like you're taking a step back. You're just saying, we're going to pay you a little bit more because you're younger. Yeah. That's not always the best answer.
But if any season is going to be the season for the Bulls to take a step back, would it be next season because they own their own draft pick in 2024? If there's any season that they'll be willing to take a step back and take a flyer on some younger guys, next season may be it.
I mean, it sounds great, but we can't even get our own draft picks that we have right now to play on the floor consistently.
This is very true.
Outside of Kobe White, who was already drafted before Billy and AK got here. You know what I mean? Like Patrick Williams is off the bench. Dalen Terry basically doesn't exist. Marko Simonovic is Claude Rains. That's the Invisible Man. Or the Shadow, I guess that would be. I don't know. That's an old reference. Don't worry about that. That was really old. Don't worry about that one right there, man. With Claude Rains, do some Googles on that.
You know who? I know who Claude Rains is, but that's a deep cut.
Steve-O's mad.
Oh, Steve-O doesn't know who Claude Rains is.
Steve-O finna be in the comments. I know who Claude Rains is. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
That's hilarious. But yeah, man. So we'll see. We'll see. I really hope that we do retain Vooch, even if it's on like a 2-year deal. I just hope we bring Vooch back.
I'd say do a 2-year deal and try, if you have to, front load it, right? Like, front load it, make it so he's an easier trade asset the next season, and do what you got to do. And hopefully he doesn't have a season there he goes backwards, but I don't think you're going to do much better.
That's a Ryan Poles level move right there. Front loading the contract.
Oh man, listen, I give you $30 million this year. You're gonna make 6 next. give you $35 million right now. You will make $40,000 next year. Save up.
Oh man. Go ahead,
follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls, man. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for showing love.
And you can follow me at CEO Haize, at CEO Haize. And thank you, as always, for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, go and check out Game to Game NBA. All the latest analysis, game breakdowns, everything the way that only Locked On can deliver it on Locked On NBA, Game to Game NBA. Make sure you guys check it out on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Before Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls. We out, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.